All right, good morning, everybody. Give me 1 second. We'll go over what's going on here. Okay, so taking a look at our trade plan from yesterday, we do have to update these levels, obviously, because we had a really big spike at 7 o'clock. Yesterday we said holding above 570, we were looking for 620 and 61. Those targets have obviously been hit. We damn near retraced all the way back into Wednesday before finding some sell pressure, and now we have an extremely obvious capital B here. So let's go ahead and say holding above. Let's say where that node falls off, but there is a value level there. So let's just go ahead and take the value level. So we'll say 618. But normally you would find like where that node falls off, because that's where the capital B will start coming into play. But there's a value level very close, so we'll grab that. And then holding above that, we will target the overnight high, which is currently around 750. And there's another level above that around 68. We'll target that as well. And then downside, we have the lowercase b, so we could say single prints going down to 62. But once again, there's a value level very close, so we could say around 65.46, the value low of Friday. And then we have another value level down here around 6,500. So we'll use that one as well. The levels are not super clean today. There's so many overlapping levels in this one area. But that is what we will keep an eye on here. So right now we have a capital B, which is neutral / bullish, because the secondary node is on the high here. Okay, so basically what we are watching today for the capital B is, can they protect the middle? Whoever protects the middle controls the day. So as it comes back down into that session VWAP, into the single print zone, as long as those buyers are being aggressive there, they still control the day. Okay, so new levels on NASDAQ. Let's see here. We will take that value level around 411. And then to the upside, we are going to look for the overnight high, which is around 770. And then we have that value level at 986. Below 411, we have that single print retrace, which also lines up with that value level. So we'll say around 120. And then we have the overnight low around 765. And then as far as the day shape goes, same exact story. Capital B, secondary node is on the high, so you're slightly bullish. But if they cannot protect that session VWAP and that single print zone, then they obviously will get pulled back down into that lower node. Taking a look at that workspace that I made yesterday, hopefully you guys watched that video that I put out. Just a quick update on all of these charts here. We have that support that we mentioned on ES and NASDAQ damn near the bottom, like to the tick. Obviously, it's on a daily chart, so to the tick is not quite exact. But looking for that low, that support around 460. We're currently around 480. And then on NASDAQ, the low of that support is somewhere around 700, and the low is around 775. Correlations are still pretty strong with oil. They're weakening a little bit, but they are still pretty strong. Oil is coming down quite a bit today, down about 8%. Volatility and tensions, I guess, coming down very slightly in the Middle East. Brent crude, which tracks the global market on oil, coming down a little bit as well. And that spread between CL and BZ is coming down slightly to about 12 points. So it was a high of about 14 to 15 points. Spread's coming down a little bit here. But yeah, overall, still keep an eye on the oil markets. They are pretty bearish today. So that is helping us be a little bit more bullish on the equity markets. I added a oil time and sales down here for us to keep an eye on. See how it's trading. Right now you're trading at 53, 90, 53. Let me actually duplicate this chart here. So I have that on my other monitor. Okay, starting to test that middle of that capital B. Keep an eye on the session VWAP. And then we have those single prints from the pre-market as well. Typically, we don't watch single prints on the pre-market. But because it is so important for the capital B, it's like that middle section. You do want to keep an eye on that. But yeah, if you guys are wondering what's going on with the markets, basically anytime you see a big move right now, it's just because of oil. Like I said, watch that video I put out yesterday for a better understanding. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Banana Jose, Nitro, Vivian, Leo. Let me pin the trade plan for you guys. Happy Monday, guys. Leo, Igor, Tamer, Luis, Music, Pot, Brian, AT, Crab, Wong, Larry, Peter, Ike, Ollie, JC, Ronaldo, Orion. Good morning, Anthony, Mario, Joe, DMG, eBay, Ryder. Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Blood, Power, YF, Lulu, and Roman. Appreciate you guys being here. Not a lot of liquidity in oil. I keep having to lower this filter. Let's just take the filter off. We'll just say 0, and we'll see how it moves without a filter. Yeah, so it's way too fast without a filter. Let's go to like 3 contracts. Yeah, the 7 o'clock candle is huge. It is a little over 200 points. Yep. Good morning, Boat, Denise, Lubmir, Chuck. Keep it on that 24 EMA holding us down here, so we are still retracing. Kind of treat this like a CPI day, actually. Very similar to the CPI trading session where you have that big spike in one direction on that CPI candle, and then it creates a capital B, creates the single prints, and you typically get a retest of that candle by about 50% or so. That's kind of what's happening right now. So we're trying to retest that CPI, which obviously it's not CPI. And we have about a 50% retest. So right now that retest is being held bullishly, a little bit of a sweep. So the buyers are still in control for now. There are headlines from Trump coming out right now, which is why the market's going a little crazy. He said they had discussions on Sunday. They want to make a deal. We want to make a deal. They will talk today, probably on the phone. Hope to meet them soon. And if you didn't see the headline that caused the crazy spike in the morning, that was the headline that he said that they spoke on Sunday. So he postponed his attacks that were, he issued that 48-hour warning like I talked about in yesterday's video. And he has postponed those attacks. Basically, long story short, the tensions are coming down, which you can see in the oil chart. Yeah, then you had the Iranian media. I don't think you've had any Iranian officials say that, but the Iranian media is saying that no talks happened. This is the beauty of war, right? The fog of war. You can't trust a single thing you hear. I think people learned this lesson when it came to Ukraine and Russia. One of their ministers denied it as well. Gotcha. I didn't see that headline. Well, it seems like the markets believe they did speak. It's funny, we're not really seeing so much obvious insider trading anymore. We're seeing it on the insider prediction markets now. If you guys didn't see that post on what day was that? Let me see. I think it was Friday. Sometime over the weekend, there was a post about some poly market accounts that got created. And there were 10 brand new accounts that got created on Polymarket that all were betting on a ceasefire by the end of March. And they were putting in like hundreds of thousands of dollars into these bets. And the payout is like, I think it's like a 5-1 or 10-1 or something like that. Now, the good thing about this shift from it being insider trading to being insider prediction markets is at least with the prediction markets, we can see it damn near instantly. With insider trading, you have to wait a pretty long time for those reports to come out before the general population can see what's going on. With the prediction markets, they can't hide that shit. You can see it immediately. Now, obviously, in a perfect world, we don't want any insider trading. But we don't live in a perfect world. Unregulated markets, yeah, there's not a lot of regulation on those. They are starting to see some pushback. I forget what states it was. I think it was it Arizona or Nevada? It was one of the states in the West. They are banning the prediction markets. Or at least they are trying to. And then you have, I don't know if it was Powell himself or it was just a Fed statement overall, but one of the Fed members made a statement about the prediction market being very accurate when it came to federal funds rates and just federal actions in general, like the Fed actions. So coming directly from a Federal Reserve member saying that is pretty high praise. Yeah, one of them's banning it. Like I said, I don't remember the exact headline, but you guys can look it up. One of the states is trying to fight back and ban like Kalshi and Poly Market and stuff like that. I think it's hilarious that we were fighting back against like these sports betting markets for so long. So many states had these sports betting markets banned, and all these poker sites, like online gambling sites, they were banned for a long time. And now we have like every betting market you could think of being allowed on pretty much every single state. Keep an eye on this 700 area. If it keeps pushing up, you're going to run into that 700. Possibly overnight high around 750. If it can continue here, you are protecting that single print zone for now. Like I said, treat this like a CPI day. It almost looks identical to a CPI day. Oil is still coming down. You're down about $12 from the high, from the recent high, down even more. If you look out further, obviously. There are still statements coming out from Trump, by the way, so just be careful. Okay, they built a pretty strong node at 70. It is being protected. They're bouncing off of it. Possibly looking for that overnight high. Keep an eye on the value here. Kind of running out of value, not building up another node just yet. Trump said that the planned attacks on the power plants has been postponed for a 5-day period. So basically, up until next weekend. Pretty much no weekend recently has been safe to hold into. Yeah, like I said, it's the fog of war. You can't trust everything. I mean, the Iranian government is not really very high on the trust meter. I'm sure a lot of people would say the same about the US government. So, like I said, fog of war. It does not matter what I believe, doesn't matter what you believe, doesn't matter what many people believe. It's what the market believes, right, as a whole. And I think it's really safe to say that they believe it. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out where the market's going right now. Crude markets are down $10. Still a negative 0.9 correlation with the S&P, meaning it is taking it bullishly. Obviously, we talked about this yesterday. You have a inverse correlation. One goes one way, the other goes the other way. The beautiful thing about being neutral and unbiased, right? You let the market decide for you. Chuck, so the problem with that is the same thing with all prices. Prices go up a lot easier than they go down. So for them to go down, it's going to take a bit longer. Companies take the advantage, right? They take advantage of these risks and they raise prices to protect themselves, to make more money, whatever you want to call it. They take that advantage very, very quickly. But when prices start coming back down, they don't have to take advantage of that, right? They don't have to lower their prices right away. Yeah, it's like I always say, guys, I'm not going to go into this rant every single day. You guys have been watching long enough. I don't have to say this every single day. A great example is the joke that I make about the Wall Street Journal headlines. How many times have we seen these Wall Street Journal headlines come out that are just completely fabricated? They're just bullshit. But the market believes them, or at least they price it in as if they are believing them. And then when it comes out like a few hours later that it was complete bullshit, The market prices it in again. It goes back down. It's not rocket science, like I said. People just have this. Their bias is just too strong. You guys have to get rid of that. If you want to be a consistent trader and you want to follow the flow of the market, you just have to get rid of that bias. You're letting that bias dictate your decisions too much. Pro-Iran, pro-US, pro-Ukraine, pro-Russia, it does not matter. The market does not give a shit. Is candle green, is candle red, right? Like I said, you don't have to go too far into it. It does not take a rocket scientist to understand that the market believes that these talks happened, or at least they are pricing it in as if they believe it. Now, if you don't believe it and you think it's bullshit, put your money where your mouth is, go ahead and take a bunch of puts. And if it goes well, it goes well, right? I don't make these big claims for like a week out, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. So I don't really care. Yeah, exactly, Sean. The 10-year bond, 10-year yield has been pretty good over the years of like showing you it's almost like a volatility index almost. But recently, kind of as the years have passed over the last like 3 or 4 years, that correlation has gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. And the correlation on like a day trading aspect is not as strong as it used to be. It's still obviously there for the long-term traders, but more so on a day trading aspect, it's not as one-to-one. Right now, by far the strongest correlation for day traders is the oil market. Yeah, it should be more reliable, the cumulative delta, but the problem is we have this Iran stuff going on, so it's not like a very clean technical delta. There's a lot of bullshit going on. Good morning, Bob. Yeah, and exactly. It goes back to what we always talk about, where the market wants to be bullish, right? So if there are headlines like this that come out, they're going to trust it bullishly because they just want to be bullish, right? So they see stuff like that, and they're like, oh, okay, ceasefire coming, and then they start buying, right? The bearish headlines, unless we're in like a market that is extremely sensitive, which we kind of are right now, they need a little bit more backing. But the market is very sensitive right now, so basically anytime something comes out, the market reacts to it pretty much immediately without like a whole lot of truth to it. Doesn't have to have a ton of evidence. It's like going back to the tariff stuff. Any headline that had the word tariff in it didn't even matter what the hell they were talking about. Back when that was a very sensitive market, the market was reacting pretty much immediately without any backing to it. Like Trump could say that he was thinking about a tariff and the market would go down instead of like actually pinning it in and making it a tariff. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now with the war headlines. They don't need a ton of backing. Just rotating around this POC node for now. Just keep an eye on where that node falls off. Around that 640. Staying below that, you do begin to fill in that pre-market kind of like a gap. Going all the way back down to the 500s, 550, somewhere on there. Very obvious capital B for now. Markets didn't respond well to the oil sell-off. I don't know how much you were looking for. I mean, it went up 200 points in one candle. Not going to give you all-time high in one candle. Now, can we say the downtrend is broken and this is like the path to the all-time high and we're finally out of it? No, I don't think so. I think you'd have to consistently be staying above like 6,900, maybe 850, somewhere around there. You just have to zoom out and look at relativity. Look at the strongest green days that we've had recently. They're all about this size. So is this like out of the ordinary, like a crazy bullish day? No. Relatively speaking, compared to the other green days we've had recently, it's about average. It's about the same. The big green days we've seen recently have all been about 2% or less. The last really big day we had was on February 6th. I don't remember what caused that one, but that was about a 2% move as well. But initial reaction on the intraday, this is a 5-minute candle, guys. That is a 5-minute candle. I'm not on a daily. I'm not on a 30-minute. That is a 5-minute candle. And it moved 200 points. Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Angelo. Good morning, Trevor. Not sure if I saw you earlier. Yep, so today is definitely counter trend. You are going against this prevailing move. But like I said, is it enough to like completely flip the trend on the daily? Definitely not. We're still just in that downward linear regression channel, putting in lower highs, lower lows. This is the start of a potential reversal, but it's not like the reversal by itself. I wouldn't say you have to fully fill it in. Like I said, I would treat it like CPI, or as long as you test it by about 50%, it's probably okay. Which you've already tested it almost by 50%. I think it's a little bit higher than 50. Yeah, it's actually exactly 50. Yeah. So that little bottom right there was a 50% retest. So it's okay to go higher. It's not like it's completely untested. Bob, you just have to watch my ordered flow series. There's just too much to teach. There's too many things you have to learn to understand the footprint topic. There would be hours of discussion on that. Right now, we are just watching these nodes and seeing how they develop. The nodes on the high side are very weak. Very weak on the 9 o'clock candle. Not seeing anything on the 9:30. 10 o'clock candle, very weak as well. The buyers are just struggling to find that foothold above like 680. You need to build more of a node up here. Trying to push up against that point of origin that started to move down. Daily VWAP being protected pretty easily today. You had a couple of retests right after the open, and then you had one retest right there at 10:05, being protected every single time, even though it's very early in the day, so the daily VWAP is not very strong. It doesn't have a ton of volume. It's only been active for like 30 minutes or so. Now at this point, obviously a little bit longer. There's a lot of delta coming in here. A lot of bullish delta coming in from the last like 5 minutes. We need to see another node up here. They really struggle to find value above 80. Our last node was around 830. $8:30 in the morning, not price. Oil still hovering around 89. Not really seeing a continued sell-off here. This one is in my either the 4th or 5th video in the Apex series. I might talk about it in the how to trade market profile, but I believe that video, if I remember correctly, is on Trade of 8. But they're the exact same profile, like they're the exact same settings. So possibly in the how to trade market profile as well. What's going on, Scott? Did you guys like that style of video yesterday, by the way? I used to make more videos like that back in the past, if you guys remember. I used to make like the summary of markets videos like every week and talk more about kind of the longer term stuff a bit more. Hopefully that helped you guys understand how to track what's going on right now with oil and how to keep an eye on it on a daily basis with your day trading. Finding a little bit of a node here, node building up at around 90. Keep an eye on these single prints going back to 83 on this 30-minute close, closing at 10:30. Yeah, I'll probably do another one depending on how this week goes. If there is like actual peace talks going on and we see like in writing, or basically as real as it gets. If we see a peace ceasefire, whatever, I'll probably make another one next weekend or whenever that happens, just to kind of update the charts on the last video. So for those levels that we talked about, if you guys didn't watch that video, we are basically bouncing off that last line of support. That support and resistance kind of demand zone. We are bouncing right off of it, basically right at the bottom. So this could not have come at a better time. If we lose that zone, if today's low is lost later this week, we could fall off quite a bit, probably about 200, 300 points. I'm not sure when they'll update the gas price indicator because it's a little bit behind. I believe it's supposed to be today. I think they update it every Monday. No, not really, Rue. It's mostly on like points. Like, I'll try to make like a certain amount of points. Typically, it adds up to like winning one big trade or two small trades. This is that reaction to that Delta explosion. A lot of Delta coming in. Bouncing off that 90 node, building a little node here at 96. We only have 7 minutes left. You will most likely have single prints going back to 83. There's not really a clear level up here. We do have a pretty large POC node around that overnight high. So anywhere around that overnight high is a general sell zone, take profit, whatever. And then somewhere around like 750, 770. You can see how much volume we had here on last Wednesday. A really big POC node, which is already getting a reaction. You saw the reaction on the high of day. Still not really building a strong node up here. You have these little nodes, like you have the node at 88, building one up here at 700. But comparing them to these prior nodes, they're not shifting the value too much. Oil's still slowly going down, about to be 88. Or down about $2 from the open. I think it was around 90 when it opened. Look at what they're doing here. So like I said earlier, single print's going down to 80, 82 on that 30-minute close. They are repairing this candle so you don't have those single prints. They have to stay below like 85 in the next couple of minutes if they do not want to have any singles. Okay, about 1 minute left, and they are pretty much perfectly on the level they need to be. And oil is going up a little bit, back above 89 here. That's not helping it. This is probably from the Chevron CEO. Chevron CEO said some of the Hormuz physical impact is not priced into the paper market yet. Okay, so nearly on that level, like to a tick, like exact level they need it to be to not have single prints. If they can't quickly stay back above that 90 node, you're just going right back into rotation here. Keep an eye on that VWAP around 70. Worst case scenario, maybe the session VWAP. Get a couple of really good reactions to VWAP on the pre-market if you guys are trading pre-market. You had a bear flag and a VWAP around 1 o'clock. You had one at 5 o'clock. And that was before the headline came out. Then that headline came out and changed the day. Anyone else having a problem with NT right now? Somebody was asking in chat. I'm not on NT, so I can't help you. Pretty funny seeing all the VWAP reactions we're seeing recently. I had someone having a tantrum on one of my like 5 or 6 year old videos. They were posting a comment about how basically I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm an idiot. And they were saying that one of the dumbest things was I said that VWAP was support and resistance. And they were basically saying that's not how VWAP works, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, congrats, man. That's the dumbest thing I've seen someone comment on my videos in many years. I think there's a lot of opinions that people can have about trading. There's not always like a right way and a wrong way. But if you're a trader and you can sit there and like say with a straight face that VWAP is not support, not resistance, is not a strong level, I don't know how you're trading, to be honest. I think VWAP is the number one indicator that crosses pretty much every single line of trading. It doesn't matter like if you're an Elliott wave guy, it doesn't matter if you're a day trader, a scalper, a swing trader, a volume profile trader, you know what I mean? It literally does not matter. You could be any type of trader, and they are probably using VWAP. There are very well-known buy and sell programs that use VWAP for the largest funds. Yeah, it's like I said, I commented. I usually don't respond to dumb comments like that. I usually just delete them. But I responded. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. VWAP is quite possibly the strongest thing in the trading world. What was the headline that changed the day? Basically just oil stuff. So the biggest headline, the one that made it go crazy, was there's potential peace talks this week. And Trump postponed the attacks that were supposed to happen today or tomorrow. So no more attacks. They're on a 5-day. It's basically a ceasefire, but it's not exactly a ceasefire because Trump said postponing attacks for 5 days. But yeah, that's what the headline was. So then oil started dumping. It went down like $10. And then the markets went up 200 points. Oh, you did take that one? Yeah, I was talking about those VWAP trades earlier. There's a couple of good ones on the pre-market for you guys that were trading pre-market. A very good one at 1 a.m. and a very good one at 5 a.m. Well, yeah, it's just one of those things that like you see you saw it when like Russia and Ukraine started, and then you saw it when Israel and Iran started attacking each other. The largest actions that happen are almost always on weekends. Because they don't want to massively impact the markets, I guess. I don't know. But it's almost always on weekends. And that's why holding weekend risk right now is so scary. Yeah, the pre-market hasn't been too bad. The pre-market trades are definitely viable. They're not 5 point ranges or completely choppy. Still crazy to you that one tweet can change the market. Yeah, and then Twitter is just social media in general is very, very powerful. It is the news source now. That's why. Legacy media is dead. We've known this was happening for years, but it's just very apparent nowadays. Legacy media is completely dead. The media is social media now, like Twitter and all the other ones, right? Mainly Twitter. If it comes to financial news, it's mainly Twitter. Or X, whatever you want to call it. Good morning, Taji. Yeah, it's kind of insane. You can basically watch wars play out in real time on the internet now. So the markets can price them in pretty quickly. And that's kind of going back to my little rant that I was trying not to have in this at the start of the stream. The market is going to price this shit in, right? The market does not give a shit whether you guys believe these headlines or don't believe them. It's going to price them in damn near immediately. That's just how sensitive the market is right now. Now, whether it's true or not comes out pretty quickly as well, typically within a few hours, maybe a day or two, whatever, depending on how big the headline is. But that initial reaction, it doesn't really give a shit if it's true or not. And you just have to decide for yourself as a trader, are you going to take trades based on how the market is pricing it in now? Or are you going to take trades based on your bias that is telling you that these headlines are bullshit and you want to kind of plan for what the market is not seeing, right? You think you're right, the market's wrong. You can take trades based on that as well. Keep an eye on VWAP here. VWAP at 72. The problem that I have with traders in that kind of same realm is when it's like the AI bubble. When they're constantly being perma-bear and saying it's going to crash, it's going to crash, it's going to crash. But the market is very clearly pricing it in to the upside. Every sign is pointing to the upside. And if these people were putting their money where their mouth is, and constantly shorting it because they believe that it's bullshit, they would just be getting run over. And that just amplifies how emotional they are and how bearish they are because they're pissed off now and they want to be even more bearish and say that it's going to crash. And you see that with everything, not just AI. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing it with the oil market, right? It's more emotional, not logical. When in reality, we just need to pick up the crumbs, right? We just need to find these little moves and get our points, and that's it, right? Twitter has been #1 in the App Store for years on the news category, yeah. Yeah, whether people like it or not, whether they think it's infested by bots and all that other bullshit, right? It is still probably the #1 news source. Yeah, there's a lot of bearish delta coming in. You're not wrong. It's kind of being absorbed right now. A lot of bearish delta on that single print level around 80. Like I said, if you guys remember how to trade CPI days, this is almost identical. So far, it's pretty much doing exactly what CPI does. You have that big move on the pre-market, creates a capital B, the secondary node is protected, chops around the secondary node for a little bit, possibly goes into an extension. You get that 50% retrace of the CPI candle, which we've already got that. No, I don't have any videos specifically on news, but if you just look up my live streams and find a day that had big news, I'm sure I'll talk about it. Still a lot of absorption here at 80. Needs to stay below 80, then look for VWAP. Oil back above 90 also helping the markets come down here. If you guys didn't notice, I added an oil tape down here just so you can keep an eye on the oil prices. As this goes up, that is bearish for ES. So oil is up like $2 off the low here, so a little bit of a bounce. Here's some other headlines coming out, which is causing this bullish pressure most likely. U.S. Energy Secretary says they are examining additional measures to control the oil prices together with other options. Well, that's the problem, Bob, is like I keep talking about. You guys can't really hold overnight right now if you're expecting to have a clean move. I can't predict the headlines. You guys can't predict the headlines. You can try. They're just going to come out randomly. And it's going to make or break your trade. We are in a very sensitive market right now that you do not want to be holding very long. Like even in a day trading sense, you don't want to be holding for a very long time in your trades because it can just randomly pop up. A headline happens, kills your trade, and you were up 10, 20 points, whatever. So you guys need to be very careful holding for a long period of time, even in a sense of day trades or swing trades. I mean, good luck. I mean, might as well flip a coin at your desk. You want a Bowser? Valor, you could do that in a slow market. You could wait for candle closes and be much more reactive. But right now the market is extremely fast, so waiting for 30-minute closes is not going to be doable all the time. DMG, that's already a thing. There's a bunch of Twitter accounts that do that. You just got to find them. There's a bunch of Twitter accounts, like kind of like Unusual Whale style, that post when there's weird stuff going on with the prediction markets. Yeah, exactly, Sean. It's one of those things where even if you pay for like the news services, you're still not going to get the reaction like instantly. The market is going to be faster than you all the time. That's why I don't even bother and I just use Twitter that's has all the free stuff. Because I'm not trying to sit there and hover the button and press the button when the news comes out. I don't need to be as fast as I possibly can, right? I don't mind if I'm 30 seconds, a minute behind. Still seeing that absorption here. A lot of bearish delta at 85 to 80. Not going anywhere. You see those traders, the large orders coming in around that area, already flipping to the buy side. Every time I look at this chart, I just think CPI. Like this is identical to CPI. You have the CPI come out around 8:30, does that large candle either to the upside or downside. You have that 50% pullback. If it stays above 50%, and then it does exactly what it's doing here, kind of chops back into the high. What do we have this week? Don't we have, no, not CPI. We've got PMI this week. This week's actually very quiet as far as data goes. It's mostly just headlines on oil. Oh, it is technically the last week of the month, kind of. The last week is, or the last day is actually on Tuesday. So I'll probably start reminding you guys about the raffle probably in a day or two. If you guys have any accounts you use code BREW for on Apex, you can start sending those over for the raffle. Yeah, I'll actually start reminding you guys probably around like Wednesday. Keep an eye on these lower highs because we have a ton of bearish delta coming in. It is being absorbed. But as long as they protect those lower highs, they want to push that delta down. They want to keep going down here. Yeah, I need the invoice number and the account size. Usually in the receipt, you can just take a screenshot of like the top of it where it has like the number and then the account size. And the raffle details are exactly the same except for the cash prize. I'm changing that to tutoring. Just to make sure I'm following Apex's new affiliate rules. Almost nobody chose the cash prize anyway. Pretty much everybody was choosing the Discord access. Hey, Dravi, you said I saw your analysis about ES correlation with oil. It saved my account today. Thanks from India. Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad you watched the video. I'm glad it provided value for you. I was actually just looking at that right now. Still have a very strong correlation, negative 0.9. Oil still having a pretty strong sell-off. It is kind of chopping. It's trying to go back up. But it's maintaining that sell-off from the pre-market here. Yeah, Delta has not been extremely reliable. The cumulative Delta. There's just too much going on. There's too much big boy action, hedging, and just everything, honestly. It's not a very smooth market right now. So gold is hitting that anchored VWAP that we had way back in August. It's not a clean hit. You're sweeping it. You kind of broke it by quite a bit. For this to get back into being bullish, you need to reclaim this value back above like 4,900. Looks like the next value would be somewhere around 4K. Nice whole number there. 4K 3900. Ever listen to Bloomberg in the background? No, I don't listen or watch like any legacy media when it comes to like economic stuff like CNBC, Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, all that stuff. I couldn't care less. I feel like they're just so far behind the times. Literally, my news feed on Twitter does their job better than they do. I think overall, I've built a pretty damn good news feed, mostly unbiased. There are accounts that are slightly biased, one way or the other. And then obviously I have to watch like whoever's in the White House at the time. So I have like the press sec on there. I have obviously the White House itself, stuff like that. But other than that, I think the accounts I follow for like financial news are pretty damn good. You guys can find my news list if you follow my Twitter at the bottom. There's a list that's called news. I don't remember how many accounts are in there. It's probably like 30 accounts or so. But that's who I use. Yeah, Scooby, you can get level 2 data. I just don't pay for it. But yes, you can get it as like an add-on on your Apex accounts. Absorption still being protected by the buyers. They are trying to squeeze them out here. Yeah, usually on my news feed, if they start getting like overly biased on bullish or bearish or like politically like left or right, I take them off my news list. So the news list is pretty catered to just like providing the data, providing the news without giving their spin on it. I think the only account that I still have on the news list that's pretty biased would be Zero Hedge, but they put out some really good stuff, so I keep him on there. He puts out some really good articles and reports every now and then. Good morning, Bella. Israel just said meeting will be held later this week. Yeah, we already knew that. So later this week, we're looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday for much more detail on the quote unquote like ceasefire or whatever they're going to call it, peace deal. Okay, much better candle this time around. So earlier we talked about how they were really struggling to find these nodes on the highs of these candles. And now this candle is pretty top heavy, so we need to close, which is hard to say because the candle just started. But we need to close with this node as support. So they need to protect this node up here at around 703. Keep an eye on oil here. Look at that drop in oil. I added this at the bottom so we could watch oil. Dropping pretty fast, below 87 now. Well, that's, yeah, I'm kind of saying both those things in one sentence. If they do not hold on to this node, then the buyers are trapped and you're going right back down. The same are true. This same headline just keeps coming out. They've been posting this headline about the US speaking with Iran's parliament speaker for the past 30 minutes. I don't know why they keep just reiterating the same headline. Yeah, what I'll show you like here. This is what my newsfeed looks like. So I just put it on like a timeline, kind of like just like normal Twitter. And you have like all these accounts that just post headlines. And these are two of the best ones. First, Squawk and Financial Juice. I know you guys can't really see it, but those are two of the best ones. But there's a bunch of accounts. There's like I think there's like 30 accounts or something on there. You can have it updated automatically. Yeah, so I have it on I pay for Twitter Pro. I think it's like $8 a month. It used to be called TweetDeck. If you guys used to use TweetDeck, where you can create lists and then turn those lists into your own timeline. So now it's called X Pro or Twitter Pro, whatever. So you have to pay for the Pro version, which is like $8 a month. And then you can pull up your list in the Pro version as a column, and then you just read that. So mine updates as fast as possible when those tweets come out. Look at oil, 86. I don't use Financial Juice by itself. I just follow their account on my Twitter. Financial Juice is its own news terminal that you guys can use if you would rather do that. But I would rather have a bunch of different news sources. One of the ways that I like to see, like, if a headline is a really big headline, is if I have like 4, 5, 6 different outlets that I follow all posting that headline at the same time. Yeah, you can't get it to update automatically unless you pay for Twitter Pro. That's how TweetDeck used to work. And TweetDeck was a free program until they got bought. I don't remember if they got bought before or after Elon took over. So here are counter headlines coming out. Once again, back to the fog of war. Counter headlines saying Iran Security Committee spokesman saying Trump is lying or talking nonsense. He rules out talks and says only force will be understood as the strikes and oil price surge shift momentum. Now, the market does not seem to believe the Iranian headlines. The market is on the side of the Trump headlines. If they believed the Iranian headlines, we'll start seeing a spike in oil. Yeah, I'm sure you could find ways to just do it for free if you wanted to make the system for it. I just pay the $8. Still protecting this upper node here. Next level is that POC node and overnight high around the 30s. You can see that correlation here, still doing what it's supposed to do. Brent oil, crude oil coming down. ES, NASDAQ bouncing off that major support. No update on gas prices yet today. I think it's supposed to happen every Monday. Yeah, that's typically how it goes with every single market news site. They start out free so people get an idea, and then it quickly shifts to being a paid site. Your ad template looks very nice. If you want to copy my settings, they're mostly on my 5th video in my Becoming an Apex Trader series. If you guys are in Discord, you can just download my workspace from the templates channel, which is still a couple versions behind. I don't know if it will say corrupted if you try to install it, because I have not updated in a while. The template is accurate. It's my exact charts, but my version is I think like 2 or 3 versions behind. Well, I think the bull run is obviously over. If you look at the chart on the metals, like they've died quite a bit. The question is it going to restart? And I haven't really seen anything super bullish for metals recently. Because if they were going to react bullishly to the Iran stuff, it would have already been bouncing very aggressively. So if it's not going to go very bullish off what's going on in Iran, what's going to push it back up? You know what I mean? But yeah, the impulse is already over. There's no question about that. This impulse is over. You had a double top to a lower high, and then you lost the prior low. So now the next major move is bouncing back into value. And do we reject that value, or does it reclaim that value? But yeah, not looking too good for metals if it can't go up on this oil market craze. I guess you could argue that maybe people saw this Iranian stuff coming when when gold was already going up. So that's kind of why it was going up in the first place. One of the reasons. Yeah, today's candle's a really good start. Like I said, it's a start for pulling back into that value. We have to see how it reacts to that value from the high. Now below 86, oil dropping pretty hard. I'm surprised you're not getting more of a bullish reaction here on ES. It does not respect this most recent oil drop. And I mean most recent as in like the last literal 5 minutes. 5 to 30 minutes. You see there's a drop off here. We have a new drop off on oil, but we're not seeing that immediate reaction on the equities market. Losing its correlation a little bit on the short term. Well, clearly my baseline is Addis. I'm using them every single day for like the last, 2 or 3 years or whenever we started using them. And then outside of that, TradingView I've been using every single day for God knows how long. I don't even know, probably over 10 years. Whenever they got started, really. I think I was like one of the first users on TradingView, so literally whenever they started. Um, NinjaTrader is not bad. I used them for also like 10 years. I used them for a very long time. And I have a lifetime license, so if I ever want to go back, I can go back. But once I switch to Addis, they just have a slight edge on NinjaTrader. They're just a little bit better in all these little ways. They're not like insanely better. It's just like little improvements on everything. Yeah, Dab, it's a lot of you guys are asking that same question. You cannot get the news feed to refresh by itself unless you have Twitter Pro or X Pro, whatever it's called. You have to pay that $8 a month fee or whatever it is. And then when you put it on its own list, on its own column in your Twitter Pro, it refreshes automatically. Whoa, look at those buy alerts. Where are those coming from? I don't think that was supposed to happen. I think that was a bug. I've never seen that. I think that was a bug with the Addis time and sales. It just had a bunch of alerts come in for these big trades on ES, but those big trades are not actually happening. I've never seen that. You are seeing those trades? Yeah, I didn't see them on. I guess they might have been cumulative. They might have been a bunch of small orders combined, not like individual blocks. I think oil is more so reacting to the energy secretary's statements saying that they're going to possibly do a few things to bring the prices down. Keep an eye on VWAP here, losing that upper node. Equity is completely ignoring the most recent oil drop. The drop from 90 to 86, 87 has been ignored. Keep an eye on VWAP 588 coming up on NASDAQ, 678 on ES. Upper node completely given up. Now looking like those buyers are being trapped and squeezed out. And now we're back into that bearish absorption that we had earlier. We had a ton of sellers coming into 80, but they got stuck. Looks like they might be protected here. The sellers might come back in. Well, it's already flipped. It's already definitely bearish. But we're not seeing the squeeze because the delta's not exploding to the downside. So it's already bearish, but they haven't like completely capitulated and like given up. Yeah, I would probably say once it reclaims that bearish node. Yeah, I haven't looked at Addis's database of like videos and whatnot. As far as platforms go, I'd say outside of Trade-Evade, because Trade-Evade is just really easy. I'd say outside of Trade-Evade, they're probably the easiest platform I've used. They're the most like user friendly, intuitive. It literally took me like 5 to 15 minutes when I first switched over to completely copy my NT charts. If you're used to clicking around these order flow platforms like NT, Trade-Evade, Addis, Quant Tower, all that stuff, it's pretty much exactly the same. Everything is where you would expect it to be. You think the market's going to be in this range for the entire week? It could be, yeah. If that statement from Trump is true, and he says they're going to be talking later in the week, and no attacks are going to happen in the meantime, that's probably exactly what we're going to do. We're probably just going to be stuck. And it does line up perfectly with this week having like no data coming out. There's a little bit of data tomorrow, and that's it. Maybe a little bit of earnings. Man, I keep seeing these posts on my timeline about the airports being slammed. Not a good time to be flying. Hey, have a good night, Angela. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, exactly, Chris. Exactly. Just wait and see if this, like, quote unquote, they're not even calling it a ceasefire, but it's kind of a ceasefire. If this stands, are there going to be more attacks? It would have to be from the American side. The Israel-Iran stuff, that's not going to impact the markets as much. But from the American side, if there are attacks coming from us, that will have a massive impact. Now, people have lined the two things up, and they said that Trump said we're holding off for like 4 or 5 days, right? What lines up perfectly with that? That's when our troops and more of our ships get to the area. It lines up almost exactly with that timeline. So we won't really know until this weekend. Like I said, if something major happens, I'll make an update to that video that I put out yesterday. Still putting in a lower high, protecting that upper node bearishly. Not seeing the delta spike to the downside, so they're not squeezing out those late buyers just yet. They are definitely stuck. Yeah, Quantower, I don't know how long they've been around. I think I started using them when they were like in beta originally, like when they were getting big in the crypto market, so a lot of the crypto traders were switching over to Quantower. And I remember their platform wasn't super intuitive, but they had a shit ton of customization. Like you could customize almost everything. You could really make that platform like exactly how you wanted it to look. But I haven't used them in probably like 6 years, maybe 7 years. Honestly, maybe even more than that. I think like coming up on 10 years, maybe. I think it was like 2018, 2019, I think. So a little less than 10. think I started using Addis around like 22. I'd have to check the Discord. But I think it was like around 22-ish. 23 maybe. It's hard to say. All the years just kind of meld together. I started making videos on Addis, I think, in 23, so I think that's when it was. Yeah, it's actually insane to think about, like 2018, 2017 is almost 10 years. We're obviously adding a little bit there, but it's almost 10 years. It's kind of crazy. I mean, we're already what, 4 months into this year. It's insane. I don't know where the time is going. Keep an eye on that VWAP coming up at 80. You kind of bounced off VWAP on NASDAQ. You're front running it a little bit. The market is still ignoring that last move on oil, so they do not like this move. This last leg down here. Kind of in a 30-minute vertical distribution where it is going higher, but it's doing it in a very choppy way. Breakout traders not getting what they want. Before the afternoon, the main thing to keep an eye on is if we continue to kind of roll over here and put in lower highs. You're trying to fill in this single print zone here. You treat it like a CPI day. You're trying to retrace the CPI print, which in this case was a headline print. If it does not roll over and you actually maintain that 30-minute low structure, you're trying to take out that overnight high. But yeah, keep an eye on those singles going back down to like 62. And I guess I need to say 562 because the range is so wide. Same thing on NASDAQ going back down to 24,100. If you guys did not see the video that I put out yesterday, let me grab the link for you. I'd highly recommend watching that so you guys understand what the hell is going on with the markets right now. There you go. But all right, guys, we're going to call it there. No giveaway today. I will do one tomorrow. We did one on Friday. So we'll skip today. We'll do one tomorrow. If you guys are in Discord, I will be streaming there for the rest of the day. If you guys are not in Discord, I will see you guys tomorrow, same time as always. We do have a little bit of data coming out tomorrow. I believe it is pre-market. Actually, no, it is not. It's after the open. So we'll talk about that on the live stream. Keep an eye on these VWAPs. If you do not protect the daily VWAP, then you will be heading towards those single prints from the pre-market. We typically don't care about single prints on the pre-market, but because that was such a impactful headline, we do want to keep an eye on those for the afternoon. But all right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. If you guys enjoy the stream, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. You can still get 85% off on Apex, I believe, for the next couple of days. I think you have like 2 days left with code BREW. If you do buy any accounts with code BREW, we are coming up on the end of the month. So you can go ahead and start sending those right now. So if you want to start sending them, you can send your emails to this email right here. Just go ahead and screenshot the, by the way, here's VWAP. Just go ahead and screenshot the account size and the confirmation number if you use code BREW on Apex. Just put them all in one email if you can. That makes it a lot easier. And then in the subject line, just put raffle. And I'm going to pull those raffle winners at the end of the month. So you have until the first day of April to send those over. And that's going to be for Discord prizes and tutoring prizes as well. But all right, guys, I'll see you in Discord. If you're not there, enjoy your rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.